Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Emmanuel Church. We know it's early and you are just getting started, but we are really glad that you are here. Thanks for inviting us into your home. I'm really excited to tell you that off to your left are about 50 people joining us here live. Can you all say hi? And you can be out loud. That's good. We're so glad that you guys are here. Thanks for joining us. As we're talking, you can feel free to shout out. I mean, keep it appropriate, but you can interact with me as well. We don't need to pretend that you're not here. So we're glad that you're here and that you came out this morning. Here's where I thought we'd get started just for fun. It's an age-old kind of dinner question that people toss around. But I would love to know, if you could have any superpower, what would that superpower be? You can really think about that. Like, some of us are going to think pure fun. Some of us are going to think utility, like what could I get accomplished with it, those kinds of things. And so I would love to hear from you in the comments or here live. What superpower would you like to have? I'll tell you mine. It's always been and forever will be to fly, and not like a bird, like Superman. I want to fly like Superman. In fact, when I get to meet Jesus face to face after we have about 100-year conversation, because it's eternity, so you can talk forever, and we get through all the things, I'm just going to ask him if I could fly for like a month. That would be cool. Like, just a little while. I would really, really enjoy that. Want to say good morning while you're thinking to a few people that are already online. Joanne is here. Mary is watching. It's another beautiful morning. Emmanuel, I agree. Please do let us know where you're watching from as well. Renee is here from Antioch watching. Renee, what did you have for breakfast? That's become a regular thing. We got to at least know what Renee had for breakfast. It's always something good. The island lovers are here. That's really cool. Are you on a Hawaiian island, or is it Washington Island? Are there other cool islands? Mackinac? Is Mackinac Island an actual island? Does anybody know? Yes, apparently that's a true island. So, island lovers, you're watching from Colorado, though. So, is there an island in Colorado? There is? Are there islands in Colorado? There are? Go Broncos. There's some Denver fans here. What's that? There's a Cowboy fan sitting up here, so it's gonna get shaky. Anyway, over on Facebook, we've got a few people watching as well. Tom Christensen, good morning. Your family is here. I see them. Tom, he's in Wisconsin, right? Yeah, northern Wisconsin, way up north. It's probably like 50 degrees up there. Right? Anna Briner is on. Good morning, Anna. So what, here we go. Teleportation. That's a good one, right? You could just go from here to there. I wonder if that'll ever become a thing, like in Star Trek. What? One more time. Love is a superpower? That's a good one. Especially if we could share it with others, right? And actually get other people to, that's a good one. I like that. Any other flyers in the room? Anybody want to fly? That would be awesome, right? Although I'd stay pretty low. I have a fear of heights. So it'd be a low glide. I'd keep it really low. Anyway, I like the teleportation one. Nobody else is doing this. I feel like invisible. Somebody said invisible. So what would you do with your invisibility? That's what I want to know next. Because, you know what I'm saying? Like, that could get dangerous. Most people, I think, they want to be invisible to rob a bank. I think. So we let our inner selves out a little bit when we talk about this, don't we? Anybody else want to be invisible in here? Would that be your choice? A few of us, yeah. Just for your own, get away from people, right? I think if you're an introvert, being invisible sounds really good and fun. I think you're like, I can just leave people behind. Let's see. Mary is at her kitchen table this morning, and she's had toast. This is interesting. Toast, is it pecan toast infused? Oh, toast with pecan-infused honey. That sounds complicated. Like chemistry needed to happen in order for you to enjoy your breakfast this morning. Did you infuse the honey with pecan? Can you do that in a kitchen? I'm looking at a scientist. He would know. He's like, I don't know about pecan and honey. That's a different kind of science, right? Oh, man. All right, Deanna Bailey is on. Good morning, Deanna. Good to see you. Glad you're here. This is interesting. It's like a vortex because Angie is both commenting and sitting in the room. So that's pretty cool. That's maybe teleporting. I don't know, something like that. Erica Campo, who is actually just on the other side of this camera, commented with telekinesis. Now this is where you can move things with your mind, right? Like on the X-Men, you can move things. That's like the Force, which I would enjoy. If I could have the Force for a day, that would be pretty cool. I like these ideas. That's not one I had thought of. Susan, good morning. Super speed like the Flash. That's good. I like that. See, that's what I'm talking about. That's practical. We could clean the house really fast. And if I'm not mistaken, the Flash can like vibrate so fast that he can go through a wall, which is kind of awesome too. I don't know how that works, but that's pretty amazing. So I like that. Super speed. Let's see. Tom says good morning to everybody, I think, and especially Jack and Nancy, because he mentioned them, because Jack and Nancy are here. They're watching from Florida. Thanks for joining us. That's what's really cool about the online thing. It seems like kind of a bummer because we can't all be in the room, but the online thing is really cool because people from all over the country, no matter where they are joining us. In fact, a few from other countries, which is cool as well. Good morning, Michelle. Bob Sinkmars is on. Good to see you. I'm sorry. Nancy's not in Florida. She's in Georgia, which is a little different. Do people get bothered by that? If they're what? SEC fans? Yeah, because you can't. And Georgians, they're big time. Anybody from Georgia here today? Relatives in Georgia? Anybody online from Georgia? Who do you root for? Is it Georgia, Georgia Tech, Auburn? Is that in Georgia as well? That's Alabama. And Joanna would know. She's an Alabama fan. Jim Soul says he would want to walk through walls. That would be fun. Would you want to be able to bust through the wall or just kind of morph through the wall? I don't know. It'd be interesting. Wait a sec. I thought for a minute Mary was saying that her superpower would be lavender infusion, but that's not what she's saying. She's saying that she has lavender infused honey, which is, there's a lot of things happening with lavender in our day and age. There's a whole store in Door County, there's like 2 of them actually, all about lavender. You can get lavender popcorn. Anybody had lavender popcorn ever before? It's kind of interesting, isn't it? It's a little different flavor. Give us a thumbs up if you have ever had lavender popcorn or lavender anything. I wouldn't have thought to put that on food, but people are doing it. We're going to get started in just a couple minutes. I want to make sure that you do us a favor, though. If you're watching online, if you're on Facebook, it's the easiest spot to do it. Just find the share button and click it. If you click that share button, it's going to go onto your feed, which means your friends and family will see it, and then they can join us. Sometimes people just need a gentle reminder that church is actually happening, especially when all the days blend together like they do right now. So be sure that you share that. If you're watching on Church Online, there's a share button, I believe, there as well, where you can email or text the link to a family member or friend. Or if you're watching on YouTube, you can click the share button there as well. And if you haven't subscribed, please do that. In fact, if you're here with us live in person and you have your phone, you could go online right now and do the same thing. It's easier than ever to invite somebody to come to church. And so I hope that you will do that today. I also wanted to tell you real quick that we wrapped up Spring Hill Day Camps at the end of this week, and it was so much fun to see kids running around. They were masked up and spread out and all those good things, but they had a really, really good time. So thank you, Spring Hill, and all the great volunteers that showed up to help us make that happen. The parking lot was very busy. You know, they had a rock climbing wall out there. It is big. It's a big rock climbing wall, and they would tip it over every night and then bring it up. And so I thought my favorite time to climb it would be when it was tipped over, because then I could probably get to the top. Like I said, I have a fear of heights. But anyway, Spring Hill was awesome, and we've got all of our IC sports camps are picking back up this week. So if you are registered for that, we'll look forward to seeing you and your kid out in the parking lot in the next few days. Today we're going to be continuing our series that we've called Like, Subscribe, Comment, and Share, as we've been exploring what it means to follow Jesus. And we're going to get started in about 10 seconds. I'm going to kick it over to Joanna and she'll kick us off, so don't move a muscle.
Well, good morning. It is so good to see you this morning. Y'all, I'm a little nervous to have people in the room again. I'm not gonna lie. I got used to nobody being in here, but I'm glad that you're here. It's so fun. If you're watching online, thank you so much for hanging in there with us. We're glad you're here. If it's your first time here in the room, or you're watching us online, I want you to know we're crazy excited that you're joining us. And if you're watching online and it's your first time, would you do us a favor and just comment and let us know it's your first time, or use that little hand raised emoji thing. I'm not very good with emojis if you didn't just pick up on that. But if you've been watching for a while, or you are a part of our church family and you would like to partner with us in helping others know Jesus and grow to be like him, we have tried to make that as easy as possible. So we're going to post a link in the comments for you. You can always head to our website. And for those of you in the room, we have buckets on the way out. So when we're done today, you can drop your gift in there. And you guys, your generosity continues to blow me away and humble me. So thank you so much for continuing to put others before yourselves. I'm so grateful for that. All the cool things Josh just was talking about, Spring Hill, IC sports camps, all of that is because of your generosity. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, Josh is going to come out and we're going to continue our series, Like, Subscribe, Comment, and Share. So let's get started.
In this day and age, I've discovered that you can learn an awful lot about someone by following them on social media. More than ever, people are displaying their lives for us to see, and you don't even have to know them in order to see that. But what I've found to be even more interesting than following someone is following who they're following. You can really go down a deep, deep rabbit hole really fast. Most people, when they get into Instagram and Facebook and all those kinds of things, they tend to worry about how many followers they have, or how many followers does a celebrity have. So somebody like Justin Bieber literally has millions of people that pay attention to everything that he does. And that's kind of cool and interesting. But if I were to go onto any celebrity's website or to your page on social media, I always click on the following. I don't know if you knew that you could do that, but you can not only see what they've posted, but you can see who they are looking at themselves. And so I'll do that just to figure out and get inside their head a little bit. And then you can go even further and you can follow the people that they're following are following. And you just start to go, oh, there's some things that they're interested in. There's some things that they're entertained by. There's maybe even some things that they're bothered by that make them them. I refer to it as a constellation of identification. A constellation of identification. I don't know if you've ever looked up in the stars, but I have this really cool app on my phone. I don't know how it works, but I can turn that app on and hold it up to the sky, and it'll name all the stars for me and all the planets. And all of those stars have been arranged into constellations. When I look at it with my naked eye, it just looks like randomness. But when I look at it through this app, it starts to piece them all together. And they have names, and they're in certain places up in the sky, and it's really, really fascinating. For most people, their social media looks like this randomness. But if you start to play a little bit of detective, you can start to put the pieces together. And what's more interesting than any number is a personality. Which has me thinking a lot about what would learn about Jesus by following us? What would people learn that is important to Jesus, or learn that he cared about, or what makes him tick, and thereby should make us tick? What makes us go every single day? Would they know by following us? Would they know that we follow someone else that's directing and guiding and inspiring and leading us through every single day? I want us to wrestle with that, because I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure that by following us, people are getting the most accurate understanding of who we are, or even more important, who Jesus is. That's where I want to spend our time together. And I want to start in a place that I come back to regularly. It feels like just about every 3 or 4 times I get to talk to you, I come back to what I've started to call the platinum rule, the rule that Jesus said would identify us as his followers. John, one of his closest friends, wrote it down for us, and this is what Jesus said. So now I'm giving you a new commandment. Love each other. Just as I have loved you, you should love each other. It's a big statement. It's a step up from the golden rule. You see, the golden rule would say, love people the way you want to be loved, or treat people the way you want to be treated, right? And we teach all of our kids that, and we teach our kids' friends that, and we as a society have kind of adopted that as a good thing. And what we don't always realize is, as followers of Jesus, one of the things that he did was ratchet it up. And he said, don't love people the way you want to be loved. Love people the way I have loved you. Love people the way I love them. So here's what I want us to understand. What Jesus is saying is that you and I should value people to such a degree that we would never do wrong to them. We would never harm them. We hold them up that highly. We regard them with that much value and affection. And how we measure that value, how we weigh it out, isn't how we would expect. It's not how we grew up thinking. For starters, that value is not based on you. We've always wanted to tie it back to us. I just had this conversation with my kids this week, where we were talking about we don't treat our brother, like their literal brother, the way that they treat us. We treat them the way that we want to be treated. And then I remembered that we were going to be having this discussion, and I thought, well, I got to remind them, actually, the way you're supposed to treat your brother is the way that Jesus treated you. So it's not really based on you. And it's not based on them either. Oftentimes, I find myself, maybe you can identify, falling into the trap of weighing out my love and my kindness for somebody based on who they are, based on whether or not they deserve it, as if it were some merit system. So when I'm in traffic and somebody cuts me off, I value the person that cut me off based on the fact that they cut me off, not based on the fact that Jesus loves me. Or even simpler, when I'm at the grocery store or Target or something like that, and I go to pull into a parking spot and there's a cart left there when the rack for the cart is right next to the spot, I get infuriated and I have thoughts about whoever, and they don't even have a face at that point, left that cart there. I base my value of them on them. And what Jesus says is it's not about you, it's not about them, it's about him. Your value, your love, your affection for another person, no matter who they are, is always supposed to be based on Jesus. The way that we treat someone, and they are following us, they are paying attention, will say something about Jesus, because they're going to follow who we're following. They're going to watch what we're watching. And if we aren't making that link well, they're going to get a misunderstanding of who he is. And so Jesus gives us this, and then he takes it and he makes it even more difficult. And as we've been thinking about a constellation of identification, Jesus just puts it real simply in his next sentence. He says, Your love for one another will prove to the world that you are my disciples. Your love for one another will be the proof, will be the evidence. It will be the thing by which they convict you of being a follower of mine. Love. Isn't it interesting the things that Jesus doesn't say will prove to the world? And think about all the different ways that you or other Christians you know try and prove that they are a Christian. It might be, I can recite so many verses from the Bible, or I go to church so many Sundays out of the year, or I give X amount of dollars all the time to the church, or I don't say these things, or I don't do these things, or I don't watch these things. And let me lay out kind of a step-by-step or sentence-by-sentence proof of who I am as a Christian. And Jesus says, no. It's just about love. The way that you love each other, the way that you value each other, and basing it on me, that's going to be the proof. That's going to be the evidence. You see, so often we think that it's all about the connection to who we are following. And what we build our case around is how much we know about Jesus, or how much we know about the Bible, or how much we know about church history or theology or all of those kinds of things. Like, people get really intimidated and impressed by how close we are. People will do this all the time with celebrities. You've maybe been in these conversations where you'll talk about something and they'll say, well, I actually know them, or I've met them. And what they'll sometimes do is they'll inflate, like, hey, I saw him at a store one time, or at a restaurant, or downtown in the city. I was driving by at 30 miles an hour and I saw them over there, and like, we're friends. Right? And we kind of make it sound like we're really close because we like to show people that we have this intimacy with somebody that's important. And sometimes as Christians, that's the tactic that we take. But what's so interesting about Jesus and what he's saying here is he turns it on its head. He says you're not going to prove it by your connection to who you're following. You're going to prove it by your connection to other followers. And I know that sometimes this feels kind of unsettling for somebody like me. I've gone to church my entire life. If you're watching online or you're here with us, maybe you have too. And somewhere along the line, we fell into this groove of thinking it was all about what we can say and recite and do. And then when we hear this, and Jesus says it's all about building and maintaining and keeping and protecting relationships with other people, it doesn't feel as simple. It doesn't feel as easy. And here's why. Rule keeping is a tractor beam when it comes to our faith. No matter how long you have followed Jesus, gone to church, called yourself a Christian, rule keeping is like this giant magnet that just constantly pulls on us. And you know why? Because it makes sense. It's black and white. You're either following the rules or you're not. You're either agreeing with this premise or you're not. There's a line right down the middle, and it's easy to be able to identify who's who and what's what. And what I think when Jesus says, no, you're gonna prove to people who you are by the way you love, and by the way, you're supposed to love them the way that I have loved you, that gets really icky. And here's, to me, why it gets icky. Think about the people that followed Jesus. There was a guy named Nathaniel who kind of offended Jesus' hometown. Can anything good come from Nazareth? There's guys like Peter who would get it wrong very, very often. I mean, he said all the wrong things at all the wrong times. Matthew, the tax collector. Thomas, I mean, he even got a nickname, right? Doubting Thomas. Over and over again. You see that Jesus loves them not the way they love him. Peter abandoned him. In fact, at one point, every disciple considered abandoning Jesus. And not just the 12. We're talking about the throngs of people that would follow him around. There's one specific place where they're like, I just can't handle this. This is too tough. It's too big. I got to bail. And yet Jesus loves them, calls them back, dies for them, forgives you and me. And then Paul comes along. And Paul, who had, well, you may or may not know the story, Paul was very against Christians for a long time. Like, put them in jail, have them killed against. Then he meets Jesus, and Jesus turns his life around, and then he starts planting all these groups of churches all over the place. And you and I probably think of that in terms of today's definition of church. Like, we think Paul probably put up a building, and he got hundreds of people together, and they had these churches in these different towns. The truth is, they were smaller gatherings of people, oftentimes meeting in homes. So what's so interesting to me, in the 21st century, during the COVID age, we feel like we have been robbed of church, and in some ways we've been given a gift of going back to the first century church. When we say things like, we want to be an Acts 2 church, we might actually be closer than ever right now. So those are the groups that Paul would form, and he would write letters to them to help them understand at a deeper level who Jesus was and the life that he wants for them. And one of those groups resided in a town called Colossae. And the letter that he wrote to them is what we call the book of Colossians. And this is what Paul says as far as following the following. So if we're going to follow Jesus, what is Jesus interested in? And we know that the kind of the umbrella over the whole thing is that we love each other the way he loved us. And then Paul starts to say, if that's true, then this needs to be true as well. Since God chose you to be the holy people he loves, you must clothe yourselves with, and it's not just one thing, get ready, this is a list, tender-hearted mercy. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to read each one of these twice. And you ask yourself, is this me? Is this the Christians that I know? If somebody followed who I'm following, would they see these things? Tender-hearted mercy, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. It's a hard list. And he's not done. Make allowance for each other's faults, which is difficult because we're really good at celebrating each other's strengths. Paul says, hey, make room, make sure that you allow for people's faults in your relationships. You need to love them despite where they come up short because you value them to such a degree. And forgive anyone, not someone, not just the people who ask for it. Forgive anyone who offends you, not just the people who actually harm you or do wrong to you, but the people that just offend you. And here's what's so interesting to me, and if you're not a Christian watching this, you get to just sit back and nod along for the next 25 seconds. If you are a Christian, let's be honest with each other. We have been offended over and over and over again, but I don't see us forgiving as fast. And somewhere along the line, we decided that COVID and coronavirus and all this stuff was about people coming after the church. We were offended by it. Are we forgiving as quickly? Are we as humble and patient and gentle and tender-hearted, merciful as quickly as we are offended? Because that's what Jesus would follow. That's what Jesus did follow. If Jesus had a social media profile and you clicked on who he was following or what he was looking at and interested in, it would be these things: mercy and humility and gentleness and patience and kindness and love. Remember, here's why. Remember, the Lord forgave you. So you must forgive others. One of the things I holler at my kids about more than anything else is that they do things to their brothers that they would get so mad if they did to them. And I believe that sometimes Jesus looks me in the face and he goes, dude. Because I do think Jesus uses dude. And he'd go, dude, I died for you. I died for you. I was merciful with you. I was gentle with you. I was kind to you. I was humble enough to become a servant for you. I loved you. How dare you not do the same for them? So Paul wraps it up in those terms. Above all, clothe yourselves with love, which binds us all together in perfect harmony. Isn't that amazing? What's going to bind us together? Not necessarily that we all see everything exactly the same. Not necessarily that we all agree. Not necessarily that we all behave and do and look and sound the same, but that we love each other. And here's what's interesting when he says in perfect harmony. I don't know if any of you are musicians or know music well. What's cool about harmony is that they're all different notes. They're not all the same notes. What makes harmony is that they're different, but they sound good together. And the way that harmony is made, according to Jesus, who taught it to Paul, who taught it to John, who taught it to all of us, love. That's the music that the harmony plays. So my question for you, the one that I've been wrestling with, is if someone followed who you're following, what would they see? If they took it a level deeper than I call myself a Christian, or on my social media, my religious affiliation says Christian, what would they find? I can tell you. If they started following Jesus, they would find the list that Paul gave us. So is that what they see in you? I'm going to challenge us all to really wrestle with a truth that kind of stinks. We can't assume they assume. We can't assume they assume. So we might have a Christian t-shirt on. We might have a Christian bumper sticker. We might share a bunch of Christian memes and songs. We might text Bible verses. We might do all those things. And we assume that then they assume that we're getting this all the right way and that everything about us is who Jesus is. Unfortunately, then, we will undo a lot of that in our behavior and in the other things that we say and the other things that we post and the other ways that we are. And we're causing confusion and we're misrepresenting. So we can't assume that they assume and get it all right. But make no mistake, they're following who you're following. They're following your following. They're not just taking you at your word. They're going another level deeper. Because what they know is if I pay attention to who you're following, I'm going to learn something about you. But what's scary is that with Jesus, it also goes the other way. So they might start with Jesus and go a level deeper and go, who's following Jesus? And then they find us and they go, I don't know if I want anything to do with him. They're watching. They're following. They're paying attention. And are we into the things that Jesus was into? My encouragement to all of us today, no matter where you're watching and joining us from, no matter where you're at on your faith journey, whether you have been a Christian and walked with the Lord forever or you're still investigating this, be about the things Jesus is about. If we took that list and we said everybody in the world lived this way, I don't think we'd find one person who goes, yeah, that would be a step backwards for our society. So even if you haven't bought in yet, try this. Just be about the things that Jesus is about. Follow what he follows for a little bit. See what happens. See what changes take place. Because here's what we need to wrestle with. If you're not pursuing the things that he's pursuing, are you pursuing him? Let me ask you that again. If you're not pursuing the things that he's pursuing, are you pursuing him? Real quick, I grew up a huge Michael Jordan fan. So when they put out that documentary back in like April and May, it was heaven for me. I got to relive some of the best sports years of my life, and I just was so into Michael Jordan. The posters, I spent all my money on his shoes and all that kind of stuff. Can you imagine for a minute if I said I was a huge Michael Jordan fan, but I didn't care about basketball, I didn't wear sneakers, and I didn't like Hanes underwear? You'd be like, well, how much of a Jordan fan are you really? If you're not into the things that he's into, so how often do people look at us and go, how much are you really following Jesus if you're not about the things that he's about? Be about the things Jesus is about. That's what it means to follow him. You and I, at some point, decide on all of our social media platforms that we're into what we follow. Make sure that your friends and your family and the world at large sees him in us. And when they go a level deeper, they find tender-hearted mercy, kindness, gentleness, patience, humility, and above all these, love like Jesus. Let me pray for you. Heavenly Father, we will struggle with this. We will. There's just no way around it. Because we're not you. And as much as we want to get it right, and as much as we want to mimic you in our relationships and in our business dealings and all of that, we're gonna wander off course, and it won't be tender-hearted mercy. And it won't be patience, and it won't be humility. Sometimes, Jesus, we make following you about winning an argument more than loving our neighbor. We want to be a community of people that flips that. We want to love our neighbor and maybe not even worry about the argument because we're too busy being about the things that you are about, that we know you're about, that have been listed off for us time and time again. Will you help us with that? And as we sing these songs, they're not our words. We didn't write them. But we mean them. We mean them with all our heart. Thanks for inviting us into a life unlike any other. Amen.
Just one word, you calm the storm that surrounds me. Just one word, the darkness has to retreat. Just one touch, I feel the presence of heaven. Just one touch, my eyes were open to see. My heart can't help but believe. There's nothing that God can't do. There's not a mountain that he can move. praise the name that makes a way. There's nothing that our God can't do.
gift and what a promise, Father, to know that even when we don't feel it, you're working. Because you never stop. You never take a break. You never need a rest. You just keep on going. And keep on going for us, your kids. We're grateful. We really, really are. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Help us to follow well. In Jesus' name, amen. Hey, thanks so much for inviting us into your home and letting us be part of your weekend. We really do consider that a great privilege. We're going to come back next week and continue on in this series. Like, subscribe, comment, and share. If you are interested in being a part of our live audience, next Sunday, August 9th, the tickets will open up at 1 p.m. today. 1 p.m. today. And if you are part of our live audience today, please remain seated when we go off the air. I want to share something with you before you go. But thanks again for being with us. Make sure you stay connected with us all week long. So all the Facebooks and Instagrams and YouTubes and all the other cool places. We're there, and we want to be part of your Monday through Saturday as well. So make sure you stay connected. We love you, and we can't wait to see you real soon. We'll be here same time, same place, next Sunday. Bye, everybody.